The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday. Another week in paradise.
Well, after my week last night, I'll tell you now, it's hasn't been the greatest.
Well, you know, we've got again, you know, we've always got things to talk about. And
yeah, well, the first thing I want to talk about is the mayor's appearance on Radio Salazar. Oh, I mean HTB. The propaganda portion of the Portuguese media community. And he claimed to have saved $3 million in the termination of these people since taking office in now 4 weeks. Did you know of anyone in the city making $500,000 apiece?
well, I'd like to see a breakdown because obviously, we both know, and this seems to be. It seems that our mayor is now beginning to take bits and pieces of everybody's strategy, the Flanagan strategy, the Correa strategy, not Jazel Correa, but Bob
Correa the first.
Yeah, Correa, the first emperor, and now Sam Sutter. See, Sam Sutter was great at giving his friends jobs and then telling half-truths about what he did. You see, he gave Lou Pacheco a job, and he gave it to him for $70,000, and then he said, well, I could have given him more than that. I could have justified more than that. When in fact he didn't do it for altruistic reasons. He did it because Lou Pacheco's ability to earn is capped, and anything over that cap, they begin to go into his pension. And as it was, they should have gone into his pension because he worked over the hours. But the fact is that the investigation was begun. But as usual, if you're politically connected, who knows if it'll ever end, or they'll probably end up with no finding, and nobody will push it to PERAC where it belongs. But Sam Sutter was really good at doing these things. He'd say, I saved the city $40,000 by closing a senior citizen center, and I saved another $40,000 by closing a public library. And so he saved $80,000 supposedly on paper, not taking into consideration that he was hiring a driver to shuttle the senior citizens that was costing almost that $80,000. Plus, he hired somebody else with the money he supposedly saved. And this is what it seems that our mayor has begun to use, that kind of convoluted logic to justify what he does. He eliminated 4 positions, but now he's created 2 high-paying positions. Ken Pacheco did take a pay cut, but Ken Pacheco also had a reduction in duties, which obviously in most places would come along with a pay cut. But now he's going to create another position in another department that's going to absorb the $15,000 and go way over, because that individual probably gets $75,000 to $90,000. 98,000 or whatever. So, this is politics at its best. And we're playing. We've got a new one now. We've got a new word, though. I like it when they create new buzzwords. The new buzzword in Fall River is aggregate. We deal with everything in the aggregate. Well, I eliminated 4 positions and I only put 1 in. Well, that 1 cost more than the other 4. So what have we gained? That's not the kind of reorganization we wanted. We've gone over this time and time again. And it's frankly very, very disturbing that he thinks that everybody's that stupid. And if he said he saved $3 million by job cuts, I want to know where. They're not taking into consideration they have to pay unemployment for the people they laid off.
100%.
100%, exactly. They also have to realize that, how about the new hires and their salaries and their benefits? Let's not forget their benefits and their retirement that they have now. They put them in the system to burden the retirement system. So this is not the kind of reorganization we wanted. We want an aggregate reduction in personnel, but we want a streamlined government. We don't want to eliminate 4 positions so you can pay somebody 3.5 times, take 3.5 of those salaries and give it to somebody else, so we save virtually nothing after you put in the fringe benefits. I mean, that's, this is, it's misleading the public. I don't know. I would like to see the mayor send us a breakdown of how he figures he saved $3 million. At least Sutter came up, and then he was exposed, because then he got, it was a shambles when he talked about the library and the senior citizen center, and this is what I saved, and it's the same thing it was the same thing when he hired Corporation Counsel, Joe Macy. Well, he's only getting $92,000. The other Corporation Counsel was getting $120,000. Well, the $120,000 exceeded his max, and it would have affected his very, very lucrative pension. So, these are the half-truths that politicians tell, and these are the half-truths that we expose here on Spindle City Straight Talk. And that's why, on a national level, they're saying that people are beginning to, Bernie Sanders is saying that, 0.2% controls 90% of the wealth, and on Meet the Press the other day, no, it wasn't Meet the Press, it was some other political program I was watching. They were talking about how Donald Trump, whether you like him or dislike him, is popular now because people are beginning to finally look and question government. They're disgusted with the way it's run, and unfortunately, it looks like we're doing the same thing again with this new administration. And that's not what we wanted. That's not what you promised. And we are not. I want to see the 3 million, and I want to see the 3 million on the credit side, but I want to look at the debit side too. I want to see the salaries of the people you laid off, the health care, the unemployment you're paying for them, and let's make an accurate comparison, and then we'll truly see what we're saving.
Chip, I have to speak about this because you talked about the pensions and the burden of the system. And a retired fire captain from Providence, Rhode Island, I got his letter off the Providence Journal website. And he said that he worked for 25 years. He has one man who's worked 25 years for the state, and at the end, his base salary was well over $100,000 a year. Most of the time, he was behind a desk, and he paid $0 into his pension system. He retired at 47 and began collecting over $100,000 a year for the rest of his life. Now, that same person works for the city of Providence, making approximately $150,000 a year, while continuing in the retirement plan that he will earn another second pension, because that's from the city, not the state, while he still collects his Social Security. So we look at how these systems are burdened, not only in Mass, not only in Fall River, but everywhere. And this is what happens. Look at Joan Menard. Joan Menard, okay? She retired from the state legislature. She left it. And where did she go? She went to BCC for another job paying 6 figures, doing nothing. And then when she left, her daughter got the job.
And she got a consultant's position.
Right, and she's also on the school committee for Diamond. All right, I mean, this
another
is...
paycheck.
Yeah, another paycheck, and another contribution to another retirement system. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This is just like, let's keep robbing the taxpayer.
It's bizarre because, it's funny to say, it's almost like reverse logic, but we can thank ourselves that it's as bad as it is in Massachusetts, it pales by comparison to Rhode Island, which is one of the most corrupt states in the country. because that story you were talking about, that individual who worked 25 years for the state made well over, I'm quoting now from the Journal, and his base salary was well over 100,000, and most of the time he's behind it. He paid $0 into his pension system. He retired at 47 and began collecting over 100,000 for the rest of his life, paying nothing in. And then he complained about a fire captain who worked for the city for 35 years and paid 9.5% of every paycheck toward his retirement.
Right.
And there is an age requirement you have to meet and a number of years requirement
Right.
that you have to meet in order to retire under those systems. So, I mean, isn't it amazing that the guy who got the $100,000 pension for the rest of his life retired at 47 years old, which means he could put in almost 20 years, 18 years before he hit 65, which is the mandatory retirement age for most jobs are not mandatory, but at least a retirement age, even for Social Security. You can go to 67, and I mean, this just goes to show what happens when you allow government to go unchecked. And we're seeing it in the city of Fall River again. You know, what they're doing now is this has become this has become the focus of the city of Fall River seems to be again, let's make a deal for our friends.
Yeah,
Let's give our friends a job. But the other thing is that in the old days, they just used to slide them in under the radar.
Right.
with a kind of a lower paying entry-level job. But this is a brave new world, a brave new day. We bring them in right at the top.
That's it.
We give them six-figure salaries, and we thumb our nose at the public.
Yeah, and I was having a conversation with a BCC professor earlier today in regards to his perception of what's going on. And he said, I've never seen a politician in any community who has devoted 100% of their time and workforce product into hiring his friends. And especially coming from a person who ran for the office, who was violated by cronyism, just hated cronyism, couldn't do that. Yet it's true, everything is about cronyism at this point. So, I referenced this mayor to a recently recalled mayor in his actions. And I said how soon they've forgotten, because this is the same individual who just about gave Will Flanagan's acceptance speech, his victory speech, when he lost the election but just before the recall. And I closed that particular paragraph with, and remember, you cannot file your recall petition until April 4th. Oh, boy, did that get me 100 phone calls.
Well, the other factor is he said that, they put the job of his chief of staff in ordinance, therefore he can go above it. Well, that's not actually true.
Exactly.
I mean, it's that's his, maybe his perception, but the fact is that if the salary in fact is an ordinance, it needs city council action to be changed. It's just like firefighter salaries. They're an ordinance. Police, after you get a collective bargaining agreement, even though you've negotiated it, the city council has to fund it. And when they fund it, it has to go through 3 readings to change the salary scale. And then it's placed in ordinance. Those salaries are public record, they're in ordinance. You can see what you can go to the city budget, they're there, and you can also see basically their base salaries, and you can even get a copy of the collective bargaining agreements of any public employee. So, you just can't, because it's an ordinance, you can go higher. Well, if the salary's an ordinance, it takes legislative action by the city council to change that, because their ordinance does stipulate. We were looking for it, and I know you made a call this morning trying to get that information. We're trying to get the ordinance exactly, and it's difficult because it's, I mean, I know you were digging through
I've been digging through it all week.
ordinances yesterday, and it's very difficult to find it. And also, we have to realize in this city, we have had circumstances where we've been looking for ordinances that were passed almost a decade ago, and they're still not posted yet.
Right.
And they said, oh, well, we haven't had time to put them in yet. You know, we're still updating. And it's like, so we want to see it, and I know you made a call.
I sent an email actually late last night requesting the exact location and verbiage of the ordinance, because jobs, different positions are governed under Section 50 or Chapter 50 of the ordinances and charter, and they change regularly. And as a matter of fact, when you look at the one that's published on the city website, it has about a paragraph and a half of just change this date, change this date, change this date. So you know when you've had collective bargaining agreements and significant changes. And the only reason why I was able to find it so rapidly, because I found it under 50 Section 301, was when Sam Sutter put in the position for mayoral assistant. Now, interestingly enough, I found jobs in ordinance which are still there, such as a mayor's aide. That must be the driver. The last salary I could see for that position is $14,500. And I've seen other positions where they're low along that line too, of $14,000, $15,000, plus a $1,000 a year increase from date of hire. I mean, it's very interesting, but it's so convoluted to look through that. And the city does not have what I want to call a live ordinance. We can't go in and look at the ordinances live. In other words, as soon as it's passed in the city council, it should be able to be viewed live. No, you have to go hunting by year and vote. So it's like 2014 8 and 2010 09, and they only have going back to 2011 online. So if it wasn't changed in what's published, which goes back, I mean, we're going back 5 years now, and it's still not showing up, we gotta, we have a significant problem.
And that's by design.
Of
too.
course.
We know that. The political, it's just like, if a lawyer sends you over a stack this high of materials, there's probably one page that's pertinent that he doesn't want you to find. He wants you to get bored reading or maybe miss it. It's the same thing with these ordinances. They make it just like our city budget. I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult. Any citizen should be able to go in and look at the city budget and go line by line and add up all the numbers and come out with the budget. But they appropriate things in different areas, and they list the names for some departments, and then it's just a figure for the other departments. And the budget is it's a maze that you have to, it's like a swamp. You go in there and you're up to your knees in BS. Because I remember some years ago, the city hired an attorney, and the man was making almost $500,000 a year as a subcontractor. He came in and said he was going to reduce the number of people who were out on workman's comp, but what he did was he had a history of basically denying every claim, whether it was justified or not, so he could litigate it. And he was making so much money, and we called him on it because he had been censured by the courts. We had a dossier about 6 inches thick on him. He'd actually been accused of, they didn't call it lying, because judges don't say lawyers lie. They said that he misrepresented fact when he sent a brief to the court, and he was actually censured by the Board of Bar Overseers. But that individual was making between $400,000 and $500,000, and we called him on it. And then when a few city councils wanted to investigate, they had a heck of a time trying to find it, because what they did was they broke it off. They didn't pay him. They paid him through the law department, then they paid him through the police department for the grievances that he created in the police department, then they paid him from the fire department for the fire department grievances that he was involved in, and DPW, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what they do. This is how they scam. This is how they do things. It's just like when you give your chief of staff a stipend. See, that doesn't show in the base salary. saying, oh, he's getting $60,000 or $70,000. Then you find out he's got about $10,000 in different stipends.
I'll bet you the stipends show up in the pension, though.
Oh, yeah, if it's worded correctly, they do. It depends.
Right.
And the thing is that this is the whole problem. The whole problem is that government has created a system where they make everything as difficult as possible for people to understand, and then they can lie about it. It's just like the president of the city council, not last week on Radio Pravda, he went on and said, oh, we're $2 million to the good in the health care, and we're going to just, so we're fine. We can just grab money from there and pay a couple of bills. That's not true. That was budgeted for health care. And it has to be used for health care. With $2 million to the good, and actually we'll find out Friday, we're getting another report, but we'll find out how we are. We're running under budget with $2 million, but that's not all their money. It's not money that's available, because right now, we are a self-insurer, which means we pay the bills as we come. So what happens if we have a really bad month and what the appropriation for that month doesn't cover the bills? Well, guess what? We go to the surplus. Just like they go to our trust fund, the employee trust fund, that's got almost $6 million in it. If we have a month that we're running over what they withdraw from the paycheck or what the city has budgeted on their side, they go to the reserves. So you can't, Sean, you can't pick the pocket. You got to wait till the end of the year and then the surpluses, and we have run under budget for 4 or 5 years. But that doesn't give you the right to go steal the money. That's
Ooh,
why
I like
said
that
if
term.
you do that, they're gonna take you out in handcuffs.
But we've had this, how many years have you alone dealt with this same issue? We've seen it time and time again. We can't pay a bill, so we got to take it out of health fund. And the thing that gets me is that money on the employer side is not available until after June 30th, till after it is certified as free cash. So no, it's not available to pay a bill, but the city doesn't care, because we need that money now. And the former city treasurer said, no, we don't put that money in the account. It's budgeted for the account, but we only pay it when we have to pay it out. So that tells us that there's no money there. It's on paper. It's a joke.
It's magic money.
It's magic money, yeah.
The previous administration, it's magic money.
It's magic money, yeah.
It just appears.
Yeah, and this is what gets us. I swear that may be why they're fixing the city collector's office and the city treasurer's office with these bulletproof windows or whatever they might be. It looks very nice in there, you must admit. Costs us a pretty penny. But maybe they're putting printing presses back there and they're just going to run the paper through and, make $100 bills, and I'll get my 100-pound bag of 50s or 50-pound bag of 100s, It's amazing, because you have a 6th floor, which is slinging it everywhere, and the people in Fall River, I thought they were waking up. And, it's slow. It's slow, and there are a great number of people which are waking up, but it's not enough, okay? And I'm so tired of hearing from people, oh, well, it takes time. It takes time. No, it only takes time when you got to worry about getting reelected. You and I know this, Chip.
Well, look,
if you're not concerned about it.
We both know that, look, let's be realistic. Come on, people. And I'm not, I'm preaching to the choir here, because people who watch our show, well, a lot of them watch it so they can, get their blood pressure elevated and then try to retire on that. But there are others who actually, want to hear it. But let's look at this realistically. Why? As we've said before, why do we hire people to run our city and our nation who have absolutely no ability to do so? It's a popularity contest. It's like, okay, it's all about media and marketing and like, you wouldn't go to if your next door neighbor was a crappy mechanic, and I've said this before, you wouldn't take your car to him. You might go have a beer with him and have a cookout with him and invite him over to one of your cookouts, but you're not going to take your car because he can't fix it. He's a crappy mechanic. So that's the other scam that the politicians, the other Goebbels lie, that they have perpetrated on the public. Everybody's got to get a chance. Geez, what are you picking on him for? He's only been in for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Really? Really? We elected a new mayor to go in a new direction, to take this city and take the bull by the horns and do something to alleviate the burden on the taxpayers, property owners. You don't get 6 months of do-overs. You had Will Flanagan run that his entire first term was a disaster, and he learned from it now. So give me a second term, and he did. And he actually gave him a third term, and look what happened. We had to bump him out by 70%. But think about it. You get a job as a dishwasher. What do you get, 6 months before you can wash the dishes? You get a job, and after a month, you're not doing the job, and you're not performing. Guess what? Bye. See you later. You're out of here. Why do politicians get a grace period? Okay, you can screw up, and if anything, they should get no grace because it's our money that they're urinating in a hole. Not theirs. They don't care. Every time they make a mistake, we pay. They don't pay. Any average guy gets a job, you don't do it, you're done. See you later. Bye. Oh, you've been on, well, I only been on a job 2 months. I'm sorry, I still don't know how to run a dishwasher. Well, you're a dishwasher. You know, like there's one button to push. See you later, you're gone. And, only in politics where we reward incompetency and waste, it's like the federal government. Any federal agency knows one thing. If you don't spend every single dime that they budgeted for you, next year you get your budget cut. So guess what? You're going to spend every single dime. And what do you get for spending it, even though you didn't have to spend it? You get an increased budget the following year. That's politics, people. And, to quote Bernie Sanders, if 1 million people rise up, we can change things. Well, the people in Fall River are paying attention. I'm proud of the people because there hasn't been a community, I don't think, in this nation that's replaced mayors at the rate we have in the last couple of years. And, we're doing it again, and people are already outraged with the city council, and that's what you want. We want to stay angry, stay informed, and keep their feet to the fire. And is it a perfect science? No. We may have to keep throwing them out for the next 4 or 5 years, but ultimately we'll get a few people in there that will realize that if they want to keep their job, they've got to do the right thing. And guess what? There's no grace period on Spindle City Straight Talk. If you screw up on day one, we're calling you on it.
And it's sad that we have this minion group of people which fall lockstep in line with this mayor, just like they did with Flanagan, just like they did with Sutter. It seems that, you're always going to have that group of people, but you know what? Fall River cannot have that group of people. Fall River cannot tolerate it, and Fall River cannot survive it. Hey, we got the music. It's time to go. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday. And remember, use our tip lines. We can't keep up with them sometimes.
Stay angry.
Stay angry.
See you Wednesday.